Well, for those of you who have been watching this channel for some period of time, you know that there are a couple vehicles that make me weak in the knees. One is Mercury's from 1967 to 1974, as well as, I would say, Ford Motor Company products in general over that time frame. But the other are Pontiacs, specifically Pontiacs from 1965 through, let's call it the 1968 model year, preferably 1965, 1966, and 1967. I just think that they are some of the most beautiful vehicles ever produced, and beyond being beautiful, they drive great. Anybody who drove one of the Pontiacs from this era or own one knows that they are absolutely fantastic cars. About as close as you can get to a 10 out of 10 on a car. They do everything well, almost everything. They ride well, they look great, they run well, they're reliable, they have great interior appointments, generally good, especially for the era fit and finish. Really the only thing that you can kind of complain about with your Pontiacs of this particular time frame is that the handling wasn't necessarily all that great. They do lean quite a bit in the corners, which is amazing because Pontiac really had a performance image for this point in time. But that was really all because of the engines that they had under hood and that were indeed powerful. And the cars were fast in a straight line. But if you wanted to take them around any sort of corner, they really were relatively challenged. The Pontiacs that came and were introduced for the 1971 model year on the full-size lineup actually handled way better than these previous generation cars. That said, a YouTube viewer actually sent me a referral for this particular car, an Iris Mist 1965 Bonneville Coupe. Now let's talk a little bit more about this particular vehicle, and I'll tell you why I elected to procure it. One, it was local. Two, it's in fantastic original condition, original paint, original vinyl top, original interior, that you'll see here in a moment, all the original trim, the chrome, the stainless, any piece of trim on the car is in great shape. And for being so old, it has relatively few imperfections. It was lovingly cared for. One owner as well. Well, I guess it's two owner now since the original owner passed away, which was why it's for sale. And it has just 11,000 miles on the car. That's it, 11,000 miles. And I have to say I was admittedly intrigued by the color. Iris Mist was a one-year only color offered on 1965 Pontiacs. You could get it across the lineup. So you'll see it on GTOs, you'll see it on Grand Prix, Bonnevilles, Catalinas, etc. But it was a very rarely selected option. And it was also offered in 1965 on Chevrolets, but Chevrolet called it Evening Orchid. It was the exact same color, just had different names. It was Iris Mist for Pontiac and Evening Orchid for Chevrolet. Now, this is admittedly kind of a love it or hate it color, and if I were ordering a Bonneville new in 1965, I don't think that I would have picked this particular color. I probably would have picked Night Watch Blue as an example, maybe a maroon, something like that. But I have to say that this color does look fantastic on this car. And the best way to describe it is effectively that it's silver with just a hint of purple. So it was, from that standpoint, a rare color, and it's unfortunate that these pictures I had to take on a cloudy day. In the Midwest here, we seemingly just don't get a lot of sun, so that's unfortunate because this color really pops. Silvers in the sun, particularly on cars with lots of surfacing, complex surfacing, I should say, are excellent because they show off the surfaces. And you can kind of see it here in the photos, but it's not as dramatic as if it were sunny. And the car's dusty. I'll have to clean it up and have it professionally polished. But the paint, for being as old as it is, 60 years old, is remarkable, to be honest. Still has a great sheen and luster, isn't dull. And with a good professional polishing, it's going to look fantastic. Now, as I mentioned, this car was a one-owner car until the owner passed away, and I procured it from his daughter. And it still comes with the original invoice. I don't have the window sticker, but I'll send away to Pontiac Historical Services for that. They can reproduced the window sticker. But on the original invoice, it's not too well optioned, to be honest. It has power steering and power brakes, thank goodness. Vinyl top, as you can see here, the Cordova top, as Pontiac would call it. Reverse lights, yes, those were optional in 1965. You didn't get reverse lights standard. Windshield washers. And it did also come with white wall tires. That was an option originally. They've obviously since been replaced. The rubber didn't hold up after all these years. And an AM radio. That's really about it for the options on this particular car. It does have a rear speaker too, which I think was an option. The front speaker was the standard. And so, again, it's relatively low option car, standard 389 4-barrel engine, which made 325 gross horsepower. By the way, the 389 in these cars is fantastic. You really don't need an optional engine. It's just absolutely sublime. Plenty of power, plenty of pep and get up and go. It's got to be one of my favorite V8s of all time. Certainly, I would say my favorite standard V8. Yes, you Ford guys out there and gals, I would take a Pontiac 389 over a 390 FE engine of this era too. And I love my 390s. I've got quite a few cars with them, but the 389 to me is probably the best standard engine ever offered in any car, any American car ever. I should say non-sports car, just a regular sedan. Of course, some sports cars come with some great exotic engines. And before I take you to the interior, just check out this dead-on rear view. What a fantastic styling exercise this car is. I love everything about it, from the W shape rear end to how far inset the glass is and the C-pillars from the body, giving the car this extremely wide stance, further accentuated by that beautiful Bonneville trim panel in the middle with the linear ribs in it and the triple tail light theme out back. Because it was a Bonneville, you got some extra glitz back there. And the Pontiac emblem that appears to have just made this crease down the deck lid as it slipped down it. I mean, just an awesome design. And these cars were designed in the Pontiac studio, obviously, under the direction of an individual named Jack Humbert, who was arguably one of GM's most talented chief designers ever. And he actually was half Native American, and he was in charge of Pontiac design during this time and just did a fantastic job. And lastly, we have the rear kind of, it's not quite a three-quarter view, but close enough. And remember, if you've watched other videos, notice the Coke bottle styling on this car where the rear quarter flares outward as well as upward, taking the window graphic along it up front. And then also you have the skeg line further accentuating the Coke bottle shape at the lower portion of the quarter panel. This was peak Coke bottle for Pontiac design. And again, just a fantastic overall look. And no, I did not stretch this picture. That is how long the quarter panel is, as well as the rear overhang. Remember, the Bonnevilles were on a longer wheelbase than the Catalinas and Grand Prix. I should say the Bonnevilles, as well as the Star Chiefs, were on the longer wheelbase. They were the long wheelbase Pontiacs. The Catalina and the Grand Prix were the short wheelbase Pontiacs. And generally speaking, in previous years, if you got a short wheelbase Pontiac, you were unfortunately stuck with a roto-hydromatic transmission for the automatic. And only in the full-size or the long wheelbase cars did you get the hydromatic transmission, and they're completely different. By 65, the roto-hydromatic was gone, and this car has a turbo-hydromatic 400 transmission, which is just like the engine, sublime. And Pontiac tuned it beautifully. It just shifts fantastic. The shift points are perfect. Flawless is all I can say about it. Now let's turn to the interior, because in addition to the exterior being in just phenomenal shape, the interior on this Pontiac is pretty much perfect. The steering wheel's perfect. The walnut trim, that is real walnut, by the way, on the steering wheel as well as the instrument panel. Pontiac interiors during this time frame were just so finely detailed. And I wonder if part of that is because Jack Humbert, whom I previously mentioned, was previously an interior designer before he would lead the Pontiac studios. And I think he just paid a ton of attention to the entire vehicle. And I mean, imagine you bought a Pontiac, and this is not a Cadillac, not an Oldsmobile, not a Buick, and you get real wood on the dash, and it looks fantastic and rich. The materials are beyond reproach, beautifully trimmed accelerator and brake pedals even. The door panels are finely detailed. And as I mentioned, this is not a high-option car. It doesn't have AC. You'll notice the IP top pad doesn't have a vent in the middle, which the AC cars did. And they also had vents on the outer corners of either side of the IP. It doesn't have power windows, but you know what? You can't go down to your Pontiac dealer and order these anymore. And I've got a 65 Bonneville that's fully loaded with automatic climate control, air conditioning, and basically everything except power windows. It's got power everything else. But yeah, I guess I can't find my Bonneville with power windows. Oh, well, who cares? I mean, you're driving this car on a summer's day, and you just keep the windows down. It's not like you're cranking and winding the windows up and down and up and down. This is not a daily driver. And look at the condition that the seats are in this car. They're perfect. No flaws at all. The bench seat, the foam is still pliable and supple. It even has that new car smell from 1965. I don't think this car was really ever smoked in, or if it was, it somehow didn't permeate the smell of the vehicle. It just smells fresh and new and not musty and old. Certainly no mice have ever been in this car anywhere. And check out the headliner in this car. It's perfect. The woven headliner is perfect. The visors are perfect. This car doesn't have the optional reading lamps, which my other Bonneville does. It just has the one center dome light. You know, it's just fine. Pontiac saved a little money perhaps on the interior lighting on the Bonneville. There's no lights in the C-pillars that you would get as an example on some higher-end cars. But you know what? Who cares? The dome light works just fine. And you got everything else felt rich, from the IP to the door panel to the seats to the headliner. And look at all of that beautiful bright work trim that surrounds the daylight opening of the car. You just don't see that anymore. So I could really care less. I think buyers could care less that it just had a single dome light, and they probably saved a little bit of money there by doing that. Now, under hood, as I mentioned, we have the standard 389 four-barrel engine, made 325 gross horsepower. You could get a ton of different engine options in the Bonneville. You had this as standard. You could get a 338 horsepower 3.2-barrel 389, a 338 horsepower 421 cubic inch four-barrel, 356 horsepower 421 with 3.2 barrels, or the top engine was 376 horsepower 421 high output V8 with 3.2 barrel carburetors. At the opposite end of the spectrum, you could also get the economy 389 V8 that made 256 horsepower, came with a 2-barrel carburetor. That was optional in any of the full-size Pontiacs as a credit option, I believe. The only downside here, it's obviously a clean engine bay, untouched, and just in really nice shape. But the astute observer will notice that the heater core has been bypassed. So I will have to get that fixed because I like heat in my cars. I want to be able to drive this car in the fall and not, freeze. I drive my cars all the way up until the snow flies on the road and the salt hits. So I don't care if it's 35 degrees, not hurting the car so long as there's no salt on the roads. And actually the cars perform the best when it's cold like that anyway. So it's really the best time to drive your Classic, not on a 100-degree hot day where you risk getting vapor lock with the car sitting in traffic and the air conditioning on if it had air conditioning. Best day for driving cars like these, I find, is those cool fall days or cool spring days. The cars really just love it. And lastly, take a look at the trunk floor in this. It's original, it's unmolested, it has the original spare, the original mat, just in beautiful shape, totally rust-free. I don't think this car ever saw rain, or I'm sure maybe it'd have seen rain accidentally a few times, but there's no bubbling around the back window at all. So somebody really just loved this car and babied it. And for now, before I do the full video on this vehicle, I'll leave you with this, a brief walk around of it, so you can kind of see it up close as I just take a few photos of it, and you'll notice how beautiful the car is overall. What a fantastic, fantastic vehicle. So stay tuned for the full review as I work on the car and get it back on the road. It was sitting for about 5 years prior to me purchasing it. So it needs a little bit, needs that heater core, as I mentioned. but how can you pass up a car like this? And I'd be curious in the comments, what do you think about this particular color? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Wait maybe until I get a picture of it in the sunlight. I think it's going to show it off better. But put a comment in the comment section and let me know. Stay tuned. As I mentioned, I'll have more videos on this car coming up shortly. And thanks again to my YouTube viewers who keep sending me these great cars that I just can't pass up. I've ended up procuring a few of them off of YouTube viewers or through connections. So I really appreciate it. Low mileage original cars I just love from, I would say 1959 through 1974 is kind of the sweet spot. So thanks for sending me this and much appreciated. And as an epilogue, here is one photo of the car where it's out in the sunlight. So I can at least tease you for a little bit until I do the full video on it. Thanks again for watching.